I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the many lands on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend my respects to any elders joining us here today. So I'll just introduce who we've got here as well. My name's Kathy and I'm joined by Michelle, who's an Education Officer with Cleanaway, and Jodie, who's a Waste Management Officer with Central Coast Council. Today, the Central Coast Waste Management team and Library Service have teamed up with Cleanaway to share ideas with the community with the aim to reduce waste over Christmas. So many people love Christmas and look forward to the festivities, decorations and gifting. Each Christmas, we produce a lot of waste: toy batteries, disposable catering items, wrapping paper, packaging from gifts, decorations, lights and trees. So reducing and managing our waste has become an important topic across Australia, and I'm pleased to welcome you here to find out more about what we can do to work towards a waste-free Christmas now and in the future. I'll hand over to Michelle now so she can start her presentation. Remember, you can type your questions in the chat box and we'll get to as many as we can before the end of the session. Over to you, Michelle.
Great, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for dialing in today. I'm just going to start really quickly with just a quick background on Cleanaway and what we do on the Central Coast, just so everyone's sort of aware on where we're coming from today. So we have the domestic waste contract with Central Coast Council. It's a 10-year contract that we started in February 2018. And we provide services for approximately 140,000 properties across the Central Coast. So that means we're emptying over 280,000 wheelie bins each week. So it's quite a big operation that we run here for the Central Coast. We're based up in Summersby. We employ over 120 people. And part of that contract that we have with the council is to also educate the community on the waste and recycling service that we provide. So that's what today falls under. It's our One Coast banner. So you might have been onto our One Coast website or our One Coast Facebook page, where we try to reach out to the community about the waste and recycling service on the Central Coast. Okay, so today's talk's all about Christmas. So we all know that at Christmas time, your bins tend to get fuller and there's just a lot more waste in general around this time of year. I really want to start though by just saying to everyone that the presentation goes into a lot of detail, and not to feel guilty, I guess, if you don't feel like you can do everything we talk about, because it's all about small steps and what you can do. So please don't feel like it's all too much or there's no way you could do all these things to reduce waste. But it's just about giving everyone the information about the steps they can take to try and reduce their waste at Christmas and recycle as much as possible. So the stats, waste increases by approximately 30% in Australia at Christmas time, and we would all see that ourselves with what we put in the bins at that time of year. Australians are now spending around $11 billion a year on Christmas gifts, and it's estimated that over 20 million of these gifts are unwanted. We're also using more than 150,000 kilometres of wrapping paper during Christmas, enough to wrap around the Earth's equator nearly 4 times, and 90% of Aussies usually discard over 25% of their food during the festive period. So just those things alone are, you know, all probably things that we can relate to, you know, piles of wrapping paper around the Christmas tree after everyone's opened their presents, getting a gift that you didn't really need, but it was just given to you because it's what we're expected to do, gives gifts to each other. And then of course the food, we all overindulge at Christmas and there's always food left over, which may get thrown out. So today we're going to go through our top 10 tips for reducing waste and recycling over Christmas. For those of you that are sort of joining us as we've been going on, please use the chat option if you need to ask any questions. I've got some staff with me today from the Central Coast Council that will help to answer those in the chat, or we'll try and get to them at the end. Okay. So tip number 1, festivities need decorations, but choose wisely, because all that glitters is not necessarily environmentally friendly. So when it comes to our decorations, try to buy good quality ornaments that can be reused for years to come. So this little guy that's popped up on our screen here is actually one from my tree. And that was a hand-me-down from my husband's grandmother. And you can see the quality that comes from our older decorations and ornaments. They weren't made cheaply like we get now. So our other little tip is visit op shops. You'll often find lots of good quality secondhand Christmas ornaments that may be quite a few decades old, but you'll find are made a lot better and will stand the test of time. So if you need to buy new ones, try and get ones that will be able to be used year after year after year. A lot of people like to try and do these themed Christmases where they do a different colour every year. So you really need to think of something that, if that's what is important to you, that it looks amazing, I guess, then trying to think of colours that you're going to be happy with if you do need to buy new ones. Of course, making your own is a great option, and we've got a couple of pictures up on the screen there of a succulent wreath, and also some Christmas baubles that have been made from recycled Christmas cards. So keeping your old Christmas cards to make new things with. There's lots out there you can do. So, get creative, search online for inspiration and see if you can make some of your own decorations, or use what the kids bring home from school. It's all made with their heart in the right place. It may not always look amazing, but the spirit of Christmas is definitely in it for them when they're making those things. If you're not very crafty, it's something I'm not very good at, I will admit. Have a look on YouTube. There's lots of tutorial videos that will step you right through anything you need to make that's crafty. When it comes to lights and lighting, if you're putting up lights outside, please look for the solar generated options. And if you're doing lighting inside, and if it's safe to do so, why not have a look at some nice candles? You can reuse jars you've got to place around the house. It saves on the electricity, saves on all the equipment that comes with those lights. And as I said, if it's safe for you to do so, it really does bring a nice little mood of festivities to your house at this time of year. So our next tip is on buying presents and gifts. And so I said at the start that, we all often get presents because it's what's expected, not because what we actually need or want. It's the time for giving. So really think about your presents that you are buying. Make sure, if you don't know what someone needs, but it's expected that you're giving each other gifts, it's okay to even ask as well. So it's something that they're going to want. Experience gifts are always good. They don't often come with waste. You don't need to wrap them sometimes, so there's not all that extra waste from the packaging as well. So things like cooking classes, theatre tickets, which the theatres are starting to open back up now, so jump online and have a look what's out there for next year. Zoo tickets, we've got the Reptile Park locally and Hunter Valley Zoo and Taronga Zoo. And there's often annual pass options for those types of gifts as well. So if you want to make it something a bit bigger or a bit more special, you could look at an annual pass so that the gift can keep on giving throughout the year. Gifts that grow, so look for native trees or plants or shrubs or herb gardens. Again, for the right person, they need to be someone that you think will actually maintain that and keep it alive. It's always worthwhile visiting local nurseries if you're buying gifts that grow for someone, so you can chat to the horticulturists there and make sure that you're getting something that will thrive locally. Gift a sustainable future. So this is obviously not a gift for everyone, but for the right person, a worm farm or a compost bin, it has that double edge of being a sustainable gift as well. And Central Coast Council do usually offer some green living workshops. So jump online if you're going to offer this as a gift, and see if they've got any of those coming up as well, where the person can get some hints and tips on how to use their new compost bin or worm farm. So for the coffee addict in your life, a great sustainable gift for them is a reusable coffee cup, which cafes are slowly starting to let us use again, or even reusable coffee pods. So if you know someone that is using a coffee machine, those pods we can't recycle. The coffee cups we can't recycle either, the disposable ones. So that's another good little sustainable gift for someone. You can get stainless steel coffee pods. If you wanted to, amp the present up a bit, you could buy some coffee beans and buy a grinder, and then they've got everything they need to make their coffee in their pod machine still. So Australians love their coffee. It's estimated we throw away 2.7 million disposable coffee cups every single day. So that is a huge figure of an item that we can't recycle through our service, but there are some drop-off locations that are taking them on the coast. But in your home bin, you can't put your disposable coffee cups. So if you know someone that loves their coffee every day, getting them a sustainable gift for their coffee is a great option. And then for the tea lovers, I don't know if the people are aware that a lot of tea bags, are actually contain plastic in them. So if you drink tea every day, and if you want to check if it's the brand of tea that you drink, you can do a quick Google search. There's a good list on the Million Women's website that tells you which tea leaves in Australia, or tea bags I should say, are lined with plastic. So if you know someone that loves their tea, another great idea is to get some, nice loose tea leaves, a teapot or a brew cup, or even a reusable silicone tea bag, which is on the screen. That little picture that looks like a leaf is a little tea bag that you fill up with the tea leaves. And again, you can compost all of those used tea leaves and any of your coffee grounds as well. So if you've got a compost bin in your garden or a worm farm, you can put the items into that. Tip number 3, switch from snail mail to a festive e-card. So there are lots of fun options out there with e-cards. You usually do have to pay to use the service, but you would be paying for a cardboard card and the postage anyway. So if it's something you haven't done yet and you want to get your, a greeting out to all of your friends and family, have a look online for e-card options. There's funny ones that, you can upload your face into it and little elves dance around. So you can have a lot of fun with it, and it saves on all of that paper and cardboard waste that we do get from them. Or of course, make your own. So keep cards each year if you receive them. Get a little craft box happening, and you can cut the pictures out from your own cards to make some for the next year. So at least we're sort of reusing what we already have. So bonbons, this one's actually one of my favourite tips. When we really think about bonbons and Christmas crackers, it is something in Australia, I think, that we all really probably enjoy and do have at Christmas time. But if you think about the gifts that come in a bonbon, not many people keep them. They're cheap little plastic toys that the majority would end up in the landfill, so in your red bin. So how do we get around that with bonbons? So you can try making your own. I mentioned before, I'm not a very crafty person, but I have made my own bonbons. I did use a kit though. So if you go to Spotlight or Lincraft or any of the local craft stores, you can get pre-made templates for bonbons. So you get the cardboard outer, and you will get a cracker so that when you pull it, it will still make the pop. And then you can fill it with things that you think your guests will actually use. There are other alternatives, though. You can Get templates online that you can print out and use, you know, scrap paper you already have at home or old kids' artwork, and cut the bonbon shape out. If you want the cracking sound still, you can still just buy packs of crackers from local craft shops so that it will still make that cracking sound. Or even the picture that's on the screen at the moment shows a cloth option where someone has just used some had a mental blank, cloth serviettes, that's what I'm thinking of, to use for their bonbons. So those ones probably won't have the same effect with the pulling it and the pop, but the end product is still the same in that you're still giving a little gift at the table and adding some decoration. So what do you fill them with? So think of who is coming and what they might like. You know, try and fill it with things that are useful, not something that's going to go into the red bin. So I've put some suggestions up there. Packets of seeds, so, you know, whether it's some sunflower seeds or a herb seed or some, you know, a native shrub, scratchies and lottery gift cards, mini perfume bottles or essential oils, mini alcohol bottles, tickets to the cinema or the movies are good for kids. And, you know, there's lots of different things you can put in there that are small enough to fit that will actually get used instead of going into the red bin. And of course, the jokes is probably my favourite part. It's something we do in our family is we all read our jokes out. So there's lots of jokes available online. So you can still, you know, go on, include all of those in them if you are going to make your own. I think even some of the kits come with jokes and the paper hats as well. So all you literally need to do is find what you'd like to put inside if you do buy those kits, or don't use them at all. So of course, just because it's something we've always done, it doesn't mean it's something we still have to do. So there's lots of reasons not to do it still. So, and we've got a little quote from the Lorax there, which is a great little Dr. Seuss book. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So it's all those little simple changes that can make a big difference. So just because you've always done it, don't feel like we always have to do it. So there are plenty of reasons to change, and you can still have fun and wear silly hats if that's the part you like, or tell jokes. You could just put the jokes and the hats on the table. So there's lots of options for that one. Okay, disposable servingware is quite big at Christmas time. We've all got people coming over and no one wants to wash up. So and often we also don't have enough servingware for the amount of people we're coming over. None of the disposable servingware you are using in knives, forks, plates, serviettes, all of those things, none of that can go into your yellow lidded bin. So just so that everyone knows, that is all a red bin items. So if you don't have enough and you want to avoid them, ask, you know, one of your guests that's coming, get together, see what they've got, and see if you can get people to bring some extra servingware over to help. And also make sure, you know, that everyone gets in and helps with the cleaning up and the washing up. So, you know, if everyone helps, it all happens quickly and you don't need to use all the disposables. If you really want to use them, try and avoid the plastic ones. I did a bit of research, and from what I researched, the bamboo ones are the most eco-friendly options. So, you know, you might be able to find ones that claim they're compostable as well. So if something claims it's compostable, it's not compostable in your green lidded bin. But if you've got a compost bin or a worm farm at home, you can certainly try and put it into that and see if it will break down. But with something like a plate, you would need to tear it up so that it's quite small before doing that, so that it has a less time to break down. So yeah, if you're going to use them, try and avoid plastic. If you use the paper plates and they're not coated and they're relatively clean, you could put the paper ones in the recycle bin. But on a day like Christmas, you know, checking everyone's plates before you put them in there. You know, you'd really want your guests to help you with that. So none of the plastic ones though can go into your yellow lidded bin. Okay, wrapping paper. So you know what it's like Christmas morning, especially if you've got children. You know, the lounge room just turns into this pile of wrapping paper. It's everywhere. So there are lots of alternatives to wrapping paper. If you are going to buy wrapping paper, look for actual paper. So what I mean is paper that is tearable and made from a tree and can go into your yellow lid bin. So if it's just a normal wrapping paper and it's printed with images on it, that's okay to go in your yellow bin. If you can't tear it, then it's made from a plastic or a cellophane or a foil, and we can't recycle it in your yellow bin. It needs to be an actual paper item to go into the yellow bin, none of the other types of plastic wraps or foils wraps that you may get. So some alternatives to buying new wrapping paper is to wrap gifts in old paper you already have that was destined for the yellow bin. We don't really get newspapers anymore on the Central Coast, but we used to suggest newspapers for this. So if you happen to have some around, you could still use the newspaper, add a splash of colour with a bit of paint, or stick a, you know, flower from the garden on it when you're wrapping it up to make it a bit more exciting. If you've got children that are in primary school or preschool, you will have so much artwork that you could use, and it's really good one for the grandparents as well. So get all that old artwork and use that to wrap up some presents as well. So you can also wrap your presents in another gift. So it could be you could get a pack of Christmas tea towels and wrap it up in that, so it's still got that festive feel, or a new beach towel or a sarong. I've got some examples on the screen here, and there's actually lots of tutorials on YouTube that show you the best way to wrap with fabric items to make it look as nice as these pictures. So it doesn't look like just a mess. Another good option as well for the right person is to use a calico or a reusable green bag for your gift bag. And then it's got that dual purpose that they can take it to the shops to reduce their plastic bag use as well. Or for the kids especially, use a Santa sack. You can you know, if it fits all the gifts in, it's less wrapping paper, less time you need to spend wrapping, and you can reuse it every year. So that's another really good idea for the kids mainly as well. Okay, so the food waste. We have so much food waste at Christmas time, and you know, it seems really simple, but really just writing a list and meal planning can really help to reduce that waste. So make sure you know how many people are coming, check what you've already got in the pantry, plan what meals you're serving. And then when we're serving at Christmas time, often we have all these different types of meat options, and they all have different serving sizes based on how many people you have coming. But those serving sizes are based on just serving that one meat item. So just think about that as well. You know, if you're buying, you know, a turkey roll and it says it feeds 12 people, that's just if you're only serving that turkey and no other meat. So just sort of really think about that. If you're having a few different meat options, that you won't need as much. But writing those lists and meal planning, finding out what other people are going to bring, you know, that all helps. Make sure you store all the food properly as well, so it doesn't avoid any spoiling happening, especially with seafood and things that we get across the Christmas season in Australia. And of course the leftovers, so either freeze them, put them in your fridge, research different recipes. You know, you get sick of having ham every day at Christmas time, but there's lots of things you can do, you know, turn it into a pasta, or freeze the meat bone, you know, and use it as a stock in soup later in the year. And also another really good one, if you're hosting Christmas at your house, try and remember to ask your family that's coming over or friends to bring a container with them so that they can take some leftovers home. I'm sure they will all enjoy having that Christmas, festive spirit in their food for a couple of days as well. And it means that you're not eating it for a whole week. You can share the love of the leftovers. Or if you're going to someone else's house, take a container and see if you can take some home for yourself to help them out as well. Because often you feel really overwhelmed with what you've got left over, even just trying to fit it in your fridge. So, if you know there's going to be a lot, if you want to make sure you've got enough, try and get your family and friends to help by taking it home and using it up as well. So, and just, food waste is such a big issue. And just to really think about that when we waste food, it's more than just the food itself that is wasted. So you've got to think about what went into growing that food, what resources were used, all of that's wasted when we throw away food. And, just 25% of water is used, that's used in agriculture, is used to grow the food that is ultimately wasted. So it's, just even thinking about those things can really help when it comes to realizing how much we don't need when it comes to food. It's the season for indulgence, but we all need to do our little bit as well. And this one is probably my other favorite tip as well, with the batteries. So I've got 2 young boys at my house who love their video games and their remote control cars. And we go through so many batteries. So if you are giving someone a gift that needs batteries, have a look at including recharger and rechargeable batteries as part of that gift. It means you're not having to constantly buy the batteries as well, but it really helps on saving all of that waste. So 300 million batteries are used each year in Australia, and each rechargeable battery can be charged up to 1,000 times, saving you money and also the pollution that comes from discarded batteries. So we don't want batteries being put in the yellow or the red bins. I will talk about some recycling options for them a bit later in the presentation. But yeah, those recharges, and when recharges first came out, probably over 10 years ago now, for our household batteries, they were quite slow. Like it could take a couple of hours to charge your batteries, but they are really quick now. So if it's something you haven't used in a while, some of them will charge your batteries in 15 minutes. So it's really worth looking at if you are going through a lot of AA's or AAA batteries, investing in a charger and some rechargeable batteries. Okay, now I did a lot of research for our tip 9. This is on the Christmas trees, and I'm sure most of you have already got your Christmas tree and put it up. So we're a little bit late for this debate, I guess. So, but which way should you go, real or fake? And as I said, for those of you that have joined us a bit later, I'll just reiterate maybe at this point that I don't want anyone to feel bad or overwhelmed about their choices and about producing waste at Christmas. It's all about just doing what we can. Some of us have already bought our tree and organised it all, and it's just about making the most of what you've already got, if that's the case. You're here spending your Wednesday afternoon listening about it, so I know all of our hearts are in the right place. So an artificial tree, and I said, this is all just from research I've done online, but an artificial tree needs to be reused for 20 years to have a lower impact on the environment than a real tree. So if we've already got an artificial tree, we're committing to using it for quite a few years, a few decades. If you're in the market to buy a tree and you're thinking of going plastic or artificial, look for a good quality that will last, or even look at secondhand. So op shops do have a lot of Christmas decorations going there. So I do have an artificial tree, but it was re-gifted to me from someone I know that likes to change their whole Christmas theme every year. So, again, if you can buy one secondhand, it's much better than getting one brand new if you're looking for artificial. You've got to think that all of these things are more than likely made outside of Australia. So they've had to be transported here from overseas. And that's the main reason that they are such a drain, sustainability. It's that travel and the production of the plastic and then the disposal. So if we were to put this in our red bin and it ended up at landfill, it would probably be in the landfill for a few centuries breaking down a plastic tree. So, you know, it's good if you're going to reuse it for a long time, and get one secondhand if you're in the market for a new one, is the best advice there. So a cut down Christmas tree has produced oxygen and absorbed carbon dioxide, and it will usually be replaced by another tree because they're grown on farms and the cycle continues. And of course, at the end of it, so if you've bought a real Christmas tree this year, you can book in a bulk garden curbside collection for it after Christmas, and then we can turn it into compost as well. On top of that, I do believe that a lot of the farms for these Christmas trees are actually quite local to us here on the Central Coast. So it hasn't had to travel very far and it's very local. I was talking with my colleague Jodie a little before everyone came on, and I was saying I think the main downside is that they probably are a habitat for creatures, because I imagine they need to be grown for quite a few years to get to that size. So I'm guessing when they get cut down, it's the loss of habitat. But the fact that they're usually replanted with more trees means they're quite a good option for just having the trees in the area and producing the oxygen and absorbing the CO2. And of course, some other ideas, and this is actually, we used to do this as a kid when at my house, was we had quite a sad looking tree that was in the yard in a pot every year that would get brought into the house at Christmas time. So living Christmas trees, something that you take care of through the year, and then each Christmas time you just bring it into the house and, you know, you put your decorations on it and that's it, spiders and all, everything that's out there with it. And I did notice up at Bunnings recently that they do have some very festive looking trees up there in pots. So again, if you're still in the market for a Christmas tree, that could be an option for you. And I've also just put a few other pictures up on the screen of other ideas I came across. So especially maybe if you don't have children in the house and the tree isn't such a big issue for you, but you still want something, even just getting a branch, you know, that's fallen down and putting some of your decorations on a branch. Or there's a picture of the sticks there in the shape of a Christmas tree as well. So again, going online, there's lots of inspiration for Christmas tree alternatives. But probably the best option is to bring in, to grow your own tree in a pot and bring it in each year and then take it back out after Christmas time. And of course, again, just making sure you speak to the people at the nursery before you do that to make sure it's something that's going to last well in our local region, so that it's not a waste of your time and money and effort. And my last tip is to make sure that you know what can be recycled at this time of year. So we get it, recycling is tricky. There is so much packaging out there now. We try to keep it as simple as we can. So I'm going to go through just with you guys what we can recycle. Oh, well, here we go. I've got a poll question for you though first. So I'm just going to bring up some questions here. On the screen, the answers are all anonymous, so no one will see what you've answered, but if you'd like to have a go at our polling questions. So it is, which of the following items can be recycled in your yellow lidded bin at Christmas? Choose as many as you think are correct. Right, fantastic. So everyone's done pretty well there. The disposable foil trays can go into your yellow lidded bin as long as they're relatively clean. So if you're using them to serve food out of and there's nothing stuck to it, it's okay to go into the yellow lidded bin. We do ask with foil and foil trays that you scrunch it into a ball shape, similar to the shape of a can, because we sort the metal items based on that round shape. So it just makes it easier at the sorting facility. It's a no for baubles or tinsel, a yes for glass bottles and jars. Christmas cards are fine to go into your yellow lid recycle bin. As long as it's just a normal cardboard card, it's all good. No to the ribbons and bows. Wrapping paper is yes, as long as it's paper, not cellophane or foil wraps. We can recycle your aerosol cooking oil spray cans. They can go in. The paper hats from the bonbons are fine as well, but it's actually a no for the serviettes. So we don't want any serviettes or tissues in the yellow bin, and that's mainly because of what they're generally used for. So, you know, wiping up spills or messes, drying people's hands, wiping it on their face, and it really does come down to a hygiene thing with those types of paper products. So those ones into your red bin, or if you've got a compost bin in the garden or a worm farm, you can pop it into that one as well. Okay, and just a bit more of a thorough explanation on what we can recycle for you. So this is just our general day-to-day items. So in your yellow lid bin, it's generally for packaging items from your kitchen, bathroom or laundry. So metal food cans, like the tins that your tuna comes in, your pet food cans, your tins of tomatoes, coffee tins, baby formula tins are all fine to go in there. Metal drink cans, so soft drink cans, beer cans, kombucha cans, all of those things are fine. And your aerosol spray cans, as long as it's an aerosol spray can that you used on your body, such as deodorant or hairspray or Aerogard, or within the house. So things like cooking oil spray, household fly spray and air fresheners, Glen 20s, all of those things are okay. No aerosol cans from the garage or outdoors though, so no like WD-40 spray paint. Any glass bottle or jar that had a food, drink or medicine item can go into your yellow bin. So no drinking glasses or things like that. So it needs to be a bottle or a jar with a lid that held a product inside of it. Plastic bottles and containers that were used in the kitchen, bathroom or laundry. So again, it needs to be a bottle or a container with a lid and held a food product from the kitchen, or a drink product, or a soap product, or that type of thing from the bathroom or laundry. So if it falls within those categories, it doesn't matter about the numbers on the plastics, as long as it's a bottle or a container that had a product from the kitchen, bathroom or laundry. And then paper and cardboard that's not laminated with any kinds of plastic or foils are fine to go into your yellow lid bin. So things like egg cartons and cereal boxes, pizza boxes are okay. Just make sure there's no food left in them, but a bit of an oil mark's fine. All of your mail and your magazines and envelopes and newspapers are all okay to go into the yellow lid bin. Our top tips for using your yellow lid bin is not to put your recycling in a plastic bag. So it all needs to be in your yellow lid bin loosely, not contained. So it also means not getting your Weet-Bix box and putting all the bottles and cans into the Weet-Bix box and then tipping that, putting that whole box with everything in it in the yellow bin. You need to tip it all out so it's all loose. Because we need to separate the items out. So everything in the yellow lid bin loosely. Make sure that bottles, containers, tubs, jars and cans are empty and don't have any food or drink in them. So you might need to give it a quick rinse out if you need to, or a little scrape out with a spoon. You can put the lids from your bottles and jars and containers into the yellow lid bin. We do ask them to be separated though. If they are left on the bottle, it will still get recycled. It just makes it a bit easier if they're separated. And then with your paper and cardboard items, if you can flatten them, but leave your bottles and cans in that 3D shape. So that makes it just easier for our sorting process. And then, of course, if you're not sure if we can recycle something, don't put it in the yellow bin. We call that wish cycling, where people put things in the yellow bin, just hopeful that we can recycle it. Either check our website, we've got lots of great information on there, or ring us or get in touch with us on social media. Or if you don't have time to do that, put it in the red bin. It's better not to waste, put the wrong thing in our recycling, which can sometimes then impact other items that we could have recycled. I'm just going to grab another poll question. Okay. So this one is a pretty quick one this time. If a product has a recycling symbol on it, it means I can place it in my yellow lid bin. True or false? A little bit split there, but unfortunately, I'd love to be able to say true. It would make my job so much easier if I could say you can trust what's on the packaging. But unfortunately, just because something has a recycling symbol on it, it doesn't mean it can go into your yellow lid bin. It doesn't mean that it can't be recycled. There may be somewhere else that you could recycle that item. But the main thing to remember with your yellow lid bin is just packaging items that have been used in the kitchen, bathroom or laundry. If it falls outside of that, there's a high possibility that it's not acceptable in that service. And that just comes down to how we sort the recycling and that where it goes to afterwards for what's acceptable within that service. So items that we can't accept within the service, we call that contamination. And there's a few reasons why we can't accept something. We either can't recycle it easily in Australia or within the contracts that are being used, or we can't sort it. So it needs to be able to be sorted out from everything else as its own item. So I've got some plastic bags and plastic wrappers up on the screen. Some of you might be currently involved in a trial that we're doing to try and combat this issue. But at the moment, for the majority of people, we cannot put soft plastics into our recycling bin. We are currently doing a trial with 2,000 residents on the Central Coast where they are recycling them, but they do need to present them in a specific way to ensure that they are recycled. So at this stage, for the rest of us, any soft, scrunchy plastic items cannot go into your yellow lid bin at home. It needs to be a bottle or a container. No polystyrene or styrofoam. That will often come with the recycling symbol, but unfortunately it's really hard to capture and recycle within our system. Also, no to meat trays in general. So no meat trays at all, even the hard plastic ones. A couple of reasons why they're not accepted. The black ones we can't detect at the facility because the machinery won't detect any black plastic. Also, some of them are polystyrene and some of them are hard plastic. So again, that's just a hard message to get out easily to the masses, I guess. And then finally, the buyers of the plastic have said that they're concerned about the blood contamination that could possibly be on that still. Even if we were to say, oh, everyone's washing them, they're a bit finicky about it. So we've had to put a blanket no for meat trays. No disposable sort of knives and forks and spoons. I think we talked about that already. No pot plants, no clothing or Manchester goods, no big buckets or baskets. These are all the types of things we get daily going into the recycling service. No toothpaste tubes or toothbrushes. So the tubes are actually made out of a composite of foils and plastics, so it does make it hard to recycle them through this stream. No old toys. And also obviously no syringes or hazardous items, but unfortunately they are things we do see coming through the facility. Paper items can be a bit tricky as well. So I mentioned earlier that only paper and cardboard items that aren't laminated in plastic or foil. But sometimes it's difficult to know with those items. So the main ones are no long life cartons. So if you're buying like your soy milk or your almond milk or your normal cows or skim milk from the shelf section at the supermarket, we can't recycle those types of cartons within this service. And that's because they're layered with plastic coatings and foil linings that can't be separated at the mills where our paper and cardboard goes to. Similar reason as to why we don't accept the disposable coffee cups or soft drink cups that you might get from takeaway shops. So they're all coated in plastic linings. And that keeps the liquid inside those items, but it makes it really hard for us to recycle them. No tissues or paper towels. The Pringles packets up there, because it's the same as our long life carton. It's got that foil lining on the inside. It's got a metal base on the bottom and a plastic coating on the outside, and then like this plasticky rubber lid. So it's made up of so many different products that it's really hard to then be able to recycle it, because the paper mills don't want it, it's got too much foil, and the plastic mills don't want it, it's got too much paper and cardboard in it. So, you know, the items that are more complex are often much harder to recycle. We can't accept the shredded paper in the service either. It just becomes small and stringy, and we can't separate it out from everything else. And if you are getting newspapers delivered still, just to make sure you take the plastic bag and wrapper off that before you put it into the yellow bin. And then just no to some hazardous items. It all seems pretty obvious, but we do get them coming through the recycling service. So these ones are no for any bins. So no gas bottles, no butane canisters, no car batteries to go in any of the bins. No building materials, especially ones that would make your bin too heavy, like bricks and things. They can damage the insides of our trucks when we're emptying them. No pill packets. You know, the plastic on one side and the foil on the other. So it's made up of a composite, which makes it hard for us to recycle. And no glass that's not a bottle or a jar that had a drink or food or medicine product in it. So no drinking glasses, Pyrex or light globes, no old saucepans and cookingware, and no household batteries. So I know it does feel like I'm saying no to a lot there. And I did mention, you know, we know it's confusing, but just really remembering that it's just things like bottles, cans, containers from the kitchen, bathroom or laundry, and paper and cardboard is the simplest way to make sure you're putting the right things in the yellow bin. With our Christmas waste in particular, so this is a little ad we've got going in some of the local papers. And we've covered a lot of this already, but I will just go through it quickly one more time. So clean foil and disposable foil trays are fine to go in the yellow bin. Just try and scrunch them up into a ball, at least the size of a tennis ball or larger, for it to be captured by our machinery. If your disposable foil trays have got food baked into it and stuck on them, they need to go into your red lidded bin if you can't clean them up. Paper, wrapping cards, envelopes and cardboard packaging is fine. If your cardboard item has a plastic window in it though, so often you might get a toy and it's in cardboard and then it's got a plastic window across the front of it. If you can try and remove that plastic window and put that plastic part into the red lidded bin, and just put the cardboard item into your yellow bin. So we don't want any of those plastic window parts going in there if we can try and separate those out. So no broken toys and no moulded plastic packaging. Now we've all come across it. I've actually got an example here, which I'm not sure if it will come up on the screen very well. But it's the things that are really hard to get into. And they're, you know, they've sandwiched something in plastic and you've really got to pull it apart to get into it. We can't recycle this type of plastic at the facility because we can't capture it. It all comes in different sizes and shapes, and the sorting facility does use a lot of machinery to sort our recycling. So we rely on plastic items being a bottle or a container, that 3D shape where they will roll away from everything else, to be able to sort them into the right section. So when we get these types of plastics that are all different shapes and sizes, they're often flat and they get mixed in with our paper and cardboard. So unfortunately, if you're getting any presents like this, that type of plastic needs to go in the yellow bin. Often it's got cardboard in it, so you could at least separate the paper or cardboard out and recycle that. Another good example I've got here is like the battery pack. So this part on the front, this bit of plastic would need to go into your red bin, but you can separate it and put at least the cardboard backing into the recycling bin. And then the other type of plastic we see a lot at Christmas time, we call brittle plastic. And again, this is where it gets a bit confusing, because I've said that hard, rigid plastic bottles and containers are okay. But if you get often a box of chocolates, if you get a box of chocolates in brittle plastic, we can't recycle that. So brittle plastic is a plastic that when we, if we were to try and scrunch it, you wouldn't be able to scrunch it. It's too hard to actually press down. And if you were to press down hard enough on it, instead of it flexing, it's going to snap or break. So that type of plastic we can't recycle in this service. A good example of what that might be, that is something that we've all probably had, is a CD case, that kind of plastic, or the box that the Ferrero Rochers come in, that type of really hard, brittle plastic that doesn't have flex to it. And if you were to push it hard enough, it would snap or break. So that molded, brittle, hard plastic, unfortunately, does need to go into the red bin. What happens to your recycling? So after Cleanaway collects your bins, we deliver it to a facility in Summersby, which is owned and operated by a company called IQ Renew. And we call that facility a materials recovery facility, or a MRF for short. So we've got people that work there, and we call them sorters. And the main job of the sorters is to remove the contamination, so to remove the wrong items. It's not a pleasant job to do. The types of things they remove range from plastic bags and wrappers to bags full of rubbish that should have went into the red bin. Dirty nappies, we estimate 5,000 a week on the Central Coast are removed from the recycling service. So I think I'm hoping people aren't doing it on purpose. Hopefully it's just a few tired parents going to the bins, but if you've got babies at home in nappies, make sure those nappies go in the red bin. And then unfortunately things like syringes do turn up as well. So it's not a pleasant job, but unfortunately it is one that needs to be done to ensure the recycling is clean enough so that it will be recycled. We then have machinery to help separate the recycling out. So once the sorters have removed the contamination, the machinery can pretty much do the rest. What we're looking at here is called a disc screen, and it's the one that's it's breaking glass bottles and jars, and they sort of fall between the cracks. And then the paper and cardboard float up, and the bottles and cans roll down for our main sort. And we then have things like, we actually use different infrared lasers to help sort some of the plastics, and things like magnets to sort the steel, a machine called an eddy current that repels our aluminium. And then everything's put into these big cubes of recycling, or bales, except for the glass. That's all stored, crushed up in the back of trucks to be transported. So where do they go to? So this is just for our Central Coast recycling. The glass is crushed and double washed, and that's actually done in Wyong, so very local for us here. And it's turned into a sand substitute and used in the construction industry. So our glass bottles and jars don't actually get recycled into new bottles and jars anymore. It's been really quite hard to get that glass clean enough to recycle it back into that food grade product. So that's why they've come up with this solution of crushing it and using it as an actual sand substitute instead. So, and that seems to be going quite well locally. Central Coast Council have used the product in some of their roads as well. So some of the new roads that have been built are actually using our old glass bottles and jars as part of the road base. Metal items are taken to Sydney, where they are melted and turned into blocks. So those blocks are then sent to different factories where they can be turned into, you know, anything from new cans again to ColourBond fencing and roofing, new appliances, bikes and cars. The plastics items, they're sent down to Victoria where it's washed and flaked. And from there, those flakes are then sent to different places where they'll be made into new bottles, containers, carpet, clothing, wheelie bins and furniture. We've actually, the company that takes our recycling have actually got a trial, or they're trying to set up a facility locally in Summersby though, where they'll be able to convert plastics back into crude oil. So that's quite exciting that that could possibly be happening locally, and that, you know, some of the plastic waste we produce here on the Central Coast might be able to be recycled back into original ingredients on the Central Coast. So we're hopeful that something will happen there with that one. And then the paper and cardboard items are sent to Sydney as well. And so the cardboard's washed, de-inked and turned to a pulp. And then they add some new ingredients where it could be turned into anything from toilet paper and paper towels to new newspapers, or kitty litter and cardboard packaging. So lots of other recycling options outside of the yellow lid bin. So just because something can't go in your yellow bin doesn't mean it can't be recycled. The return and earn facilities are there. So they accept almost everything they accept you can put in the yellow bin, I should say. So you can take your bottles, cans and there that have been used for drink items. And it's for portable recycling, I guess. So things that you might have consumed while you were away from the house. And the whole idea of it was to reduce littering. You can actually recycle your poppers through it though, which we can't recycle in the yellow bin. So if your kids use the juice poppers, or if you use them, you can collect them and drop them off to those machines to be recycled. Soft plastic, so all of your plastic bags and wrappers, you can take them back to local Coles and Woolworths stores for recycling out the front of the service area where they scan your groceries. They usually have a bin there to collect your soft plastics in to be recycled. The council has a light globe mobile phone and battery recycling collection point within all of the libraries and at some of their council facilities, such as the civic centres as well. So if you wanted to collect up those items and drop them off, you can get them recycled. You can also recycle your household batteries at Aldi supermarkets. They have a collection point where you pack your groceries as well. So you can collect them to drop them in there to be recycled. The council has e-waste recycling facilities at both of their waste management facilities. So that would be at the Button Dairy facility in Gillaby on Huey Road, or the Woy Woy facility in Woy Woy. I believe the Kincumber landfill facility is still closed to the public at the moment. So if you're on the southern end, you would need to go out to Woy Woy. You can take any item that's got a cord attached to it to be recycled as part of that program for free. So there's no charge to use that. If you were to put that item out for the bulk curbside collection, it will be landfilled. And so if you want to get it recycled, it's really worth trying to get it out to those facilities so that we can get it recycled and reuse the parts within those items. Council runs a household chemical collection twice a year for hazardous materials. It's free to use this service to drop off any items so that those items can be safely disposed of or recycled. So if you hop onto the council's website, they have all finished for this year, but they're usually in May and September each year. So just sort of keep an eye out for those and just store any items you might need to dispose of safely until those dates. So I mentioned before that we can't recycle coffee cups or like Slurpee and soft drink cups in the yellow lidded bin, but there are drop-off locations for those items. So any of the 7-Eleven service stations will take them back for recycling, or if you are at Westfield Tuggerah or at Erina Fair, they've both implemented recycling stations for disposable coffee cups as well. So if you're at those places, please search out for those bins so that those products can be recycled. And also Officeworks has some great recycling options too. So they will take any mobile phone or mobile phone accessories. You can also drop off your batteries at Officeworks. Ink and toner cartridges can also be recycled there, as well as a pen recycling program. So keep any of your pens, old texters, and you can drop it into Officeworks for recycling. There's an Officeworks at Tuggerah and at West Gosford. And then another one that people might not be aware of is run and operated by TerraCycle. It's an oral care recycling program. So you would need to jump onto the TerraCycle website and see if there's a collection point near you. Often it is run through dentists though, so they seem to be the main ones doing it. So if you hold on to any old toothpaste tube caps, floss containers and toothbrushes and the heads of electric toothbrushes, and you drop it into one of the organisations that's collecting, then they can get those items recycled as well. The TerraCycle do have a lot of different recycling programs you can tap into. So if you're involved in a school group or a PNC or anything like that, often you can go onto their website and ask for one of the boxes to be stored, you know, at whatever group you're involved with, and people can come and drop off for that as well. So I think there's some coffee pod recycling programs and all different ones that they've set up for those it's hard to recycle items. Okay, so I've just got I'm nearly finished. We're going to pop up another poll question. This one's just to get people thinking about how they're reducing waste at home, and just really so we can see what people are doing already. So I'll leave this one up for about a minute. To 2 minutes. So it's just asking you what items you're currently doing at home to reduce waste. So you can choose as many as you're doing. So we've got placing food scraps in a compost bin, worm farm, a bokashi bin, or giving them to chickens, taking plastic bags and wrappers back to the supermarket for recycling, or involved in the current Kirby plastic bag recycling trial. Growing my own fruit and vegetables, using return and earn facilities for a 10-cent refund, taking a reusable bag to the supermarket, using a reusable coffee cup or drink bottle, donating good quality toys or clothes and furniture to charity, buying secondhand products from an op shop, taking household batteries to local library for recycling, or I do none of these things. Great, thanks everyone. It looks like a lot of you are doing so much already, so it's really good to see. And as I said, please don't feel overwhelmed by everything. You know, every little bit that you're doing helps, and just the fact that you're here giving up your time and thinking about it is such a great thing to see. I just thought I would pop this slide up here that I've got now. So if you've got young children at home, you might be aware that sort of a new thing over the last few years has been to put out food for reindeer. So usually it was just carrots, but now it seems to be things like oats or muesli mixed with glitter. And often it will come home from preschool in this little pre-packaged bag that tells you to sprinkle it on your lawn, and that the reindeer can see it because it's got the glitter in it, and it will encourage them to come and land on your lawn. So I just wanted to put up just a little notice just to make people aware that glitter is actually plastic. You know, I think sometimes that line is a bit blurred there. And when we do that and we're putting that on our grass, it's a microplastic, and it will end up in our drains after it rains and in our waterways. So try and discourage it if you can. And a good alternative might be just to use hundreds and thousands instead of glitter. That's just sort of something I thought of. If anyone's got any other suggestions for children that would like to do that still and to keep it exciting, but you know, trying to use a food product or something organic that will still break down for whatever the reindeer haven't eaten, and not get washed into our drains and waterways as a microplastic is sort of a really good solution to think of. If your kids are going to a preschool or a school and they've done that in the past, maybe just bring it to their attention as well, because not everyone is aware. And I think it's really easy not to see glitter as plastic because it's so sparkly and fun. So just sort of having that in your mind as well, especially if you've used it, you know, and it's on kids' hands or it's in glue and you're washing it down the drain. You know, it is bits of plastic that we're washing away there. Just one little final message. So Merry Christmas, obviously. And if your bin day falls on Christmas Day, Boxing Day or New Year's Day, we still work. So please make sure your bins are out. Our drivers will start early, so make sure they're out the night before. We get them to start early on those days so that they can get home and spend Christmas with their family still. But unfortunately, it's impossible for us to stop the service. It's just too big for us to catch up. So they do work Christmas Day. If your bin day is Friday, make sure you put your bins out on Christmas Eve so they will be collected. Again, thank you for giving up your Wednesday afternoon. to come and listen. And I'm going to just put my contact details up there. So any further information, please jump onto the website, follow us on socials if you're not already. My name's Michelle. I've got a colleague, Joanne, that I job share with. So I've just popped up our email addresses there, which most of you should have received an email from me. So if you ever do need any further information, please do get in touch. Please feel free to reach out if there was anything you weren't quite sure of, or if you've got any great ideas that you think we should be sharing with the community on, you know, reducing waste at Christmas time especially, please reach out. We're trying to be very active on our socials with those messages. So we'll say goodbye. Thank you everyone for joining, and Merry Christmas.